Congratulations, Anushka, for completing 3 years now. My question is, what are the learnings in this 3 years?
3 years. 3 years, I think, come with a lot of learnings every step of the way. I think when we started, let me backtrack. So when we started, the learning for us to actually get into this space was that there's a lot of lack of education, a lot of lack of awareness when it comes to pet parents, right? And genuine basic pet care. So that was motivation enough for us to, venture into this space, try and make services and products more hassle free, more convenient. That learning also transcribed into another learning where we said, okay, there are some de facto products, but the industry is unfortunately too antiquated or too B2B focused. So let's make products that address actual pain points of pet parents. And I think that's how our first range of products came to be. And I think at the same time, another experience was that, we realized that people didn't know when grooming or veterinary care was necessary. And they had so many questions and they wanted answers, but they didn't know who to approach, because if you needed to go and visit a vet, you could only ask a certain number of questions at that point of time. But what happens off veterinary hours, right? And like I said, I mean, so many pet parents out there, such a beautiful community, but no one had brought them together. And I think that's what really inspired us to create Wiggles Tribe, which is our pet parent community, which started off in WhatsApp, but now is a Facebook group of more than 20,000 pet parents across India. And all we did, honestly, and not taking any I mean, of course, I take responsibility for it, but not very. The genuine desire for this group was to educate pet parents, was to be their partner in pethood, and was to ensure that if they have any questions, Wiggles is for them, and Wiggles is a fair weather friend, right? Not just for the good times, but the bad ones too. So we created this community. We fed it with a lot of wholesome, vet-approved content in the form of blogs, infographics, you name it, and we addressed all the pain points. And of course, what we did is we connected our team of in-house experts, our veterinarians, our groomers, our behaviorists, our trainers, our nutritionists, to answer any and every question. And the group is 24/7. So I think that is one of our biggest learnings, that, we thrive because of our community. And the more we serve rather than sell, the more we grow. So I think that's been a fantastic experience in itself. And of course, COVID, I think, has taught us a lot, taught us a lot about how this space is in a very positive way, like we were discussing. But it also taught me specifically, sorry, it also taught me very specifically that this space is ripe for disruption, A, and B, there are not many local food players in the market. Which is when, we started getting into it. I will talk about that a little later, but that's when we started getting into it. We had our own experience with food, and we got our foot into the door with our Wiggles wet food and YKibble, which we just launched a couple of months ago, and we're seeing a phenomenal response to it. So I think food is a great segment to be in, as long as this is right up your alley.
Yes. So, I come to the question then, which is the services part, right? Because service is very interesting, Anushka, because everybody who comes into the industry, first of all, they try for products. They do not go
Yeah.
for service, right? Because service always has a, its inert value and inner challenges, which is there. So how do you plan to address these challenges? You see, number of veterinarians present in India, colleges are far less than the number required by the pet parents.
Very interesting question, of course. And this is something I think I asked myself when I started Wiggles, just to know if I was on the right path or not. But I think we took the road less taken. We started off with services rather than products, right? Products then step 2 for us. Why services? Because, like I said, no one had ventured into this space. It was a ripe space for disruption. And for me, my desire genuinely was to make pet care very hassle free, very convenient, because we realized pet abandonment is one of the causes which is I'm very close to. And I realized a lot of pet abandonment happens because people do not have the right information and the right assistance at the right time. Which is why, I set out on this journey to make it super easy for the pet parent, and of course the pet. I mean, if they're treated and they're groomed in a familiar environment, nothing like it, right? They're very comfortable. That's how I started. You're right, I absolutely faced this challenge. Limited number of vets, limited number of groomers, and of course pet stylists, so on and so forth, is a very niche segment, right? So of course finding talent was not an easy job. But I think the bigger challenge for me, and again I'm being very candid and honest here, The biggest challenge out there for me was I got the numbers. I got a lot of people who applied, showed interest. There were vets out there, there were groomers. But the problem was I couldn't find empathetic guys. That was my challenge. There are thousands of them out there. They're phenomenal doctors. I'm sure they must have topped their institutions. Fantastic. Everything is good for them. But when they are with a dog, for me, the matter of fact and the pain point I genuinely wanted to address is when they're injecting that dog, when they're giving the dog an injection, the dog should not squeal. Or if the dog squeals, to ensure that it is addressed in the right way, and taking 5 minutes off from your job to actually sit down with the dog to ensure the dog is doing fine. And same goes for grooming, right? And I think for Wiggles, very early on, I realized that my success parameter was never revenues. Just again, being candid, it was the fact that if my doctor goes back to that house again and goes and meets that pet again, there should be a friendly wagging tail. If that wagging tail was not there, it was a mistake on my part. So I think that's how I would judge whether this is the right thing for me to do. Are my doctors going the right direction? Happy to say I have a lot of wagging tails. I see them every day, so it's perfect.
Great. Now I'll come to the product part. So I think you are the first one to launch a pet sanitizer in India,
Yes.
right? And sanitizer meaning a lot of things about the alcohol not being there and so on and so forth.
At this time, something very strange happened. Our customer support numbers were blocked. People were calling us continuously because a lot of them said, and again, being absolutely candid, a lot of them called us and said, "Hey, you guys said you'll take responsibility. Where are you guys right now? Take responsibility now. Everything is shut. Help me get chicken for my dog." So, we got a lot of this. But along with this, we also got very interesting questions, which were crazy. But you got questions where they said, "I'm very scared of taking my dog out for a walk, but he has to go for his, daily routine. But can I use an human sanitizer on him? I don't know what to do." So I've been using the human sanitizer. Now he's experiencing hair fall and rashes. And, while we could say no to one person, these calls started getting frequent because people were panicking and people didn't know what's right, what's wrong. And no one really told them that the alcohol in the sanitizer, of course, dries the pet skin, but it's poisonous for them end of the day, right? And all those chemicals are unwarranted, of course. I think this is where everything started. Now, backtracking even further, this is something we were developing, not called the pet sanitizer, let me say that. But we wanted something that people could use after they walk their pet and stuff like that. So this is something we were thinking of before the pandemic. Time sort of came together and we started receiving these calls and we realized, okay, the market really needs something, right? And that's when our team got together, our R&D team got together. We got hold of the right partner that we wanted to do this venture out with. And I think that's how the pet sanitizer hit the market. And I think it hit the market just before the peak of COVID, which worked out really well. And pet parents could actually start taking their dogs out for a walk, put it on their coats, and there was no issues whatsoever. It was rinse free, it was alcohol free. So I think the pet sanitizer, of course, was a great catalyst for the growth of Wiggles. Apart from the fact that we also ventured into pet food at the same time. But definitely the response from pet parents has been really, really heartwarming. I think the calls then suddenly translated into thank you calls and gratitude calls. And I think that's been one of our best selling products ever since.
So, pet food is a very big category, whether in India or abroad, about 80% contributes to the pet industry wherever. But having said that, there is also a stiff competition, right? As you said rightly in the starting, that Indian brand on the pet food has not had gained so much as the foreign brands. And when people, try to buy pet food, they see the name and they go back and try to check where it come from and so on and so forth, because we are so used to using the food imported from somewhere else. Uh, Now, how do you see that challenge coming to your way?
I think I'll keep this answer very short, Binoy, but I just feel in this space, because it's a booming space, the barriers to entry into this market is pretty limited, right? And if you have the right path, you have the right vision for the product, I think you can get there. And of course, one thing I'm a very firm believer in is that there is room for everyone to grow if they have to. It's just that end of the day. But having said that, of course, market intelligence did dictate that there is a need for an Indian brand to be out there in the market, and this was more so seen during the pandemic, right, when the pet shops had shut down, import had stopped, and I think all of us in the pet space know of all the malpractices that sort of happened with people repackaging old goodies and stuff like that. I think countless number of times have I seen this, right? And it was horrible at that point of time. And backtracking to my own experience during the pandemic, like I said, we got a lot of calls from pet parents, really concerned pet parents, who even dropped me messages on my personal number saying, hey, I the last chicken that I had, it was for me and my family. I don't have anything for my dog. What do I do? And everything was shut. And at that point of time, of course, initially I would help them saying, okay, give curd rice with carrots and stuff like that. But then we realized that this is a problem that is bigger, and it's growing bigger day by day, because COVID was at that point of time here to stay, right? And that's when we said, okay, we're actually going to take responsibility. We're not just fair weather friends, we're here for the good times and the bad ones too. That means we need to be out there through our services, operating 24/7. And now we are going to try, at least in Pune, where we are based out of, our HO, we're going to try and make fresh food every single day. And we're going to deliver it to pet parents across Pune. So we made a small makeshift kitchen in our office. And we had a limited production capacity, all right? And every day we used to take orders. We had it very organic because, like I said, we were getting calls, there were existing customers. It was very, very organic. Every day, I'm very happy to share that we were completely sold out. And every day we would make fresh food and we would deliver it. Many times I've gone for deliveries myself because limited staff, right? We didn't expect that kind of response. But this was fresh frozen food that we started delivering, right? No preservatives whatsoever. But then slowly we started getting demand in Mumbai, in Bangalore, in Delhi. And we said, hey, this model cannot scale because it's impossible to go down that cloud kitchen route. And that's not something that, we wanted to get into ourselves. And so we started, thinking further, and we started analyzing, and we said, hey, what else can we do? Because we know for a fact that there is a demand for this. And this is an open space. People are ready to use it if the right, benefits and features to the product is, absolutely applicable. And so we put a lot of mind to it, and we came up with Wiggles Wet Food, which is with the revolutionary retort packaging, which has no fillers, no preservatives whatsoever. And so it's a ready to eat packet of food, which you just have to serve and your dog can lap it up. And it comes with all the packed herbs, all essential nutritional vitamins, minerals, so on and so forth. And I think that was our first put into the door of the pet food world, right? And it was greatly loved. And it still continued to be loved today. And so much so that now we've made a pack of 6, a pack of 12, a pack of 24. And it just sort of, we're always sold out.